Hello and welcome to Podtoid. We are your host. I am CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 402. We have a very good show for you today. Everyone is on hand, and we have some great games to talk about, as well as... Yeah, you're back. How was last week? Where were you?
I was out auditioning to be Batman.
Oh, that's a shame you didn't get it.
Well, it was between me and Robert, or Rob, as we call him in Hollywood, and Nicholas Holt, or Nicky. He hates being called that, so just call him Nicky whenever you see him. But at the end of the day, they decided, well, they were pretty cool with me. I went in and I read, and I came out, and they were like, "We're going young," and I'm cool with it because I've seen Good Time, and it's a fucking great movie. So I hope Pattinson gets the role because he's a perfectly fine actor. And if you have a problem with him as an actor, it's probably because you haven't watched any of his movies.
Yeah. What's that limo one? Cosmopolis, I think. That's a good one. That's a good film. Yeah, if you only know him,
ageist motherfuckers.
If you only know him from the Twilight Saga, I mean, that's like only knowing. I can't remember her name now, but the female in it, like she's actually a decent actress as well, just not in those movies. The only one who sucks is Taylor Lautner because he's terrible. It's a shame you didn't get that. Maybe they'll ask you to play Robin.
They said I could be Two-Face because they wouldn't have to put any makeup on.
Well, there you go.
Look on the bright side.
Keep the budget down, you know.
Keep the budget down. Yeah, there's no guarantee those movies will make any money. So, but we have a really good show for you today. We have some Minecraft news to talk about, and we're gonna try and figure out what the hell is up with the Epic Games Store. But for the first story opening of the day, I actually had a lot of choices I was gonna go through, and I couldn't figure out which one to do. There was a guy in Florida who set his house on fire and then led the police on a high-speed chase in a General Lee car from the Dukes of Hazzard. And then there was a guy driving around a Walmart shop.
At least he's consistent.
Yes. There was a guy driving around on a Walmart shopping scooter with his junk hanging out, which I only wanted to talk about because in the police report, it said that one of the victims, quote, managed to get away, as if that's difficult to do. She just walked at 1.5 miles per hour instead of the 1 mile per hour those scooters go at. But instead, I want to start with a question. Have any of you heard of the Kiss Challenge?
Oh, that sounds YouTube-y, so I probably haven't.
Okay, I'll take the stunning silence except for Chris as a no. So this is a real challenge happening in your neck of the woods, Charlotte. It's being spread on an app called Castle. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
Okay, basically the challenge is asking people to kiss a cow on the lips.
I mean, where does the cow get the opportunity to have a say in this?
This may be the cow's, oh God, I'm going to hate saying this. This is the cow's moo-too moment.
Hey, CJ?
Yeah?
Hey, where do you live?
Well, can we go back to the story with like the burning whatever and the General Lee or whatever?
Burning his wife's house down and running away in the General Lee.
There we go.
Well, this is what's really gross. So obviously, because it's dumb and on the internet, people have started taking up the challenge. And there are videos of people just like making out with a cow. And it's not just like they're kissing it on the lips and then like he. Like I've seen videos of human tongue on cow tongue action.
Oh, man.
Ugh.
Now, I'll eat cow tongue. No, I'm serious. It's great. It's not barbacoa. Someone out there knows what I'm talking about. Laguna, no, but it's Mexican places. You can get it as a meat choice, and it's really good. Yeah. But like making out with a cow. See, this is why you do it for charity, okay? But then it's like that ice bucket challenge. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh, dump ice on you. But then there were people who would like, I'm on the 3rd story of this house, and I'm just going to throw a bucket of ice water at somebody down there, and then they're dead. It's just It's just this progression, this elevation that doesn't need to occur.
Okay, so what do you think this will progress to?
Fucking. Somebody's going to fuck a cow.
No. I'm trying really hard to think of any anthropomorphic cow from like a TV series that's hot. But I'm drawing a blank.
I guarantee you there was somebody in the Cowboys of Moon Mesa who probably could have got it.
Yes. There was a Lily. That was her name. There was I think she like ran the bar or something. But she ran the saloon. Yeah.
Okay, you guys are all forgetting the original hot cow, Clarabelle from those old Disney cartoons.
Is that the one with the big eyelashes?
Yes, and like the udders that just completely drop down. Yeah.
Okay.
Clarabelle can get it.
What is wrong with you people?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I'm on Charlotte's end here. This is going places that it shouldn't.
Yeah, all right.
I know why. I know why. It's because you guys didn't grow up in that time period where every other television show was just anthropomorphic animals, and there was always like a sexy one.
Yeah.
And like every fucking cartoon had that gimmick. But because you're a bit younger, TV is like Babs. Moved on a stage, and you didn't get that, and you're worse off for it.
It's like Gadget from the Rescue Rangers.
Yes, there you go.
Or Jenny, or Jenny from Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah, don't pretend like Gadget from the Rescue Rangers wasn't hot when you're like in 8th grade and you didn't know why she was hot, but she was hot and she was drawn that way, much like the lady in Cool World.
Lola Bunny ushered in a million kids' puberty. Just saying.
Yeah, she did.
Like the ice bucket challenge, I could see myself doing because in 50 years, my brain, which remembers every fucking mistake I've ever made, will never bring up the time I poured ice water on my head. But you can be damn sure if I French kissed a cow, like that would be the last thing I see right before I die. It's just my mind reminding me, hey, remember when you did this sick and disgusting thing?
And cows can kick out, all not 360 degrees, but whatever so horses can only kick from behind.
Yes.
And a horse kick will fuck you up. But a cow can kick out to the side and in that arc. So I'm hoping somebody gets paralyzed from this.
You're hoping, okay.
Yeah, I mean, come on. They, oh, you're in a wheelchair. I'm so sorry. What happened? Oh, I tried to kiss a cow and it kicked my spine in half. Oh, well, go fuck yourself then. I'm going to push you down some stairs.
So the Austrian government has issued a statement urging people not to trespass on farms so they can, make out with a cow for their 20 seconds of fame. But boy, it's embarrassing that we now have to issue that warning to people. Hey, don't make out with cows.
It's people.
Yeah, but since it's Austria, that sounds about right for Austria.
Oh shit! Charlotte's coming for Austria.
Damn.
Oh, the last time a German came for Austria, it didn't end so well.
Oh no. I saw that coming from like a mile away. I was just bracing for it, honestly.
Okay, I think we should move on to start talking about games. And we're going to start with you, Chris. You've been playing Plague's Tale and, oh God, I'm so sorry, the new Bubsy game?
Yep. Speaking of sexy anthropomorphic animals.
No.
So both of them are getting reviewed within the next couple of days on site. So I don't want to shoot my load too early. And
God damn it.
But A Plague Tale is a stealth adventure from Focus Home Interactive. It's made by Sovo Studios, and it's basically a really grim, really fucking downbeat tale of like two young noble children in 14th century France, the Darun children, who have like the worst morning ever, and then spend the next couple of days like knee deep in plague rats and being chased by the Inquisition, and they're going through like the slums of France, and it's just bodies and dead animals everywhere, and they're having to like wade through people, like the remains of people, and the laughs don't come thick and fast, but it's pretty fucking great. Like, it's a relatively low budget game. It's part of Focus's drive that they mentioned early in the year to create mid-tier games. They wanted to actively create games that didn't cost a fortune and didn't like kill their staff to make, but they were pretty good. And like they started that with Vampire, which came out last year and was so. And this is kind of part of this this project that they're on. And although there are elements of the game that show that then it's not like a major budget game, in terms of like character and the written dialogue and the way people interact with each other, it's really up there. And some of the locations, whether they're like these horrible pits filled with bodies or like out in like the gorgeous countryside that's unaffected by the plague, it looks really good. Like it's really, really attractive. And it's mainly story-based because it's a fairly linear game. It's super stealthy. That I can't emphasize that enough. The whole game is either you picking your way through rats or you hiding from soldiers and throwing rocks to distract them. That's the whole game. But they hold it together with these really engaging characters having really interesting conversation. And I'm playing it in French language with subtitles because I'm a wanker, and that's just really adding to the atmosphere. The English dub might be good, but I'd strongly suggest anyone who plays it in French. But I'm about finished with the game now, and although, like I say, it occasionally plays its hand of being like a mid-budget title, when the Game of the Year awards come around at the end of this year, this needs to get mentioned seriously.
Yeah, I've heard just through YouTube and some other things, people are kind of coming around to the game a bit, like it was surprising a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's one of these things where, because I have a feeling that I'm going to write my review and all the comments are going to say, oh, yeah, I'll look out for it on a Steam sale. And it's kind of like, that's not really the point. The point is, like, maybe give these mid-tier games a bit of a boost and we can send a message to the people that you don't have to spend $1 gazillion marketing your product. But I get the feeling it's going to sell at like I'll pick this up when it's a tenner, and kind of defeat the object of what they're trying to do with it. Yeah. But my full review will be literally, if not tomorrow, then the day after. And the other game I'm playing is Bubsy Paws on Fire, which I keep wanting to call Bubsy Paws of Fury. That's not what it's called. And it's a runner game, a lot like Bit Trip Runner. And I mean a lot like that. It's the same thing. He automatically runs and you just do slides and double jumps and things like that. And I'll just leave it at saying it's the best Bubsy game.
It's quite the low hurdle.
It has some good stuff in it. It genuinely has some good elements in it. But overall, I just think it's kind of bland. And for the price, I kind of think there's just other stuff you could be playing. Like, I think this experiment, this like, how ironic we're bringing Bubsy back. This is like the second game they've done this with. And the first one was it called? The Revenge of the Woolies. And that was like a disaster. And this one's like a little better. But I think the jokes, it's not as bad as Shaq Fu, but it falls into that same thing of like, you can be ironic, but sometimes the joke's on you. But both of these games I'll have my reviews up within the next couple of days, and I'd appreciate it if you read them. Thank you.
So my game that I've been playing this week, I'm also going to have for review, which means that most of the information is embargoed. It's Lapis Labyrinth, the new action RPG from NIS America. There's nothing really I can say about it that I haven't already written in the 1 or 2 previews I've written of this game. It's really bright, colorful, fast-paced, a lot of action, a lot of stuff happening on screen at once. You have 4 party members that stack up on top of each other like Disney Tsum-Tsums. It's really cute. The combat is actually surprisingly tight, though it could be a little bit faster with some of the moves where you like switch between characters. But it's nice for me because I'm a fan of NIS, and they really haven't had that good of a year. I think I've reviewed every game they've released outside of that Anno 1667 or whatever it is. And so this is like the first one that I've actually enjoyed. So
I don't know if you want to get into this now because it's more like news, but hasn't there been very recent news that NIS are in like real trouble?
Yeah. I didn't quite read up on this outside of there was a mobile game, a Disgaea mobile game that has been effectively canceled, and now their employees are, I guess, working without pay.
Well, what I read was, and this is very recent news, so this could be wrong, is that they've had to declare like a moving strike, which in financial terms is where you kind of ask for the money to pay your staff when you can't even ask the bank for the money because you already owe the bank too much money.
So it's the company asking or taking a moving strike, not the employees.
Oh, I'm not sure about that one or the other. I'm not sure whether they declare it on but essentially it's when you haven't got the money to pay them and you also can't go to the bank to pay them because the bank are like, nah, you already owe us too much.
Yeah, I could see that being it. I mean, you remember when they launched Disgaea 5 Complete for Switch, they said that their future essentially is catering to Western audiences with obviously their Eastern-inspired games, just because their games don't really sell all that well in Japan anymore. So something like Disgaea 5 sold 200,000 copies overseas, and I don't even think it moved half that in Japan. And then when you consider all of these other little titles that they're launching, something like the Princess Guide, Blind Prince and Liar Princess, these aren't hits. They're generally not anything better than kind of all right or mediocre. And I just don't know how, without a genuine hit on their hands every year, how they're going to keep themselves in business. Because it doesn't surprise me that they're having trouble paying, just because, like I said, I don't think any of their recent games have been all that big, and it has been some time without a new entry in the Disgaea series. Last year, there was Disgaea 1 Complete, I want to say. And I don't think that even moved any product remotely close to what Disgaea 5 Complete did. So it would not surprise me if they're in dire straits. I kind of hope that they are able to pull out of it, especially considered NIS America is now handling Falcom games. They need it, and I just hope that they're somehow able to stay alive without having to sell and fall to pieces.
I think they've also been haven't they been handling some of the SNK titles in Europe? Like SNK Tag Team Heroines was.
Yeah, they did that in the US as well. And I'm not sure how linked up NIS and NIS America are. It could be that they, act as separate entities, but share names or parent companies or something like that. But yeah, that's something to keep your eyes on going forward if you're a fan of the kind of quirky Japanese games like this. And see, I don't know, maybe they could see how fucking Compile Heart stays in business, because there's no way their games sell that well. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to Charlotte. And Charlotte, you're still solving some cases in Phoenix, right?
Yep. It's become a bit of a running joke between me and my boyfriend that he'll ask me, "Are you still playing Phoenix Wright?" And I'll say, "Yep, still playing Phoenix Wright," because I'm just getting like I'm trying to do bits in my lunch break, trying to do bits on the train back home, trying to do bits before bed, but I'll never have enough time to get anywhere significant. And I've just seen that apparently Spirit of Justice is a 35-hour game, so that kind of explains why it's been taking a lot longer than the previous titles that I've played.
Wow.
But I finished it today, and it's more the fact of, you see, when I was like, there was just one more twist, and then it was just dragging on and on. I was getting kind of frustrated, but now it's over. I want to do more of it. So I have actually bought the DLC for 4 and 5, so Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, to go and play those extra cases now.
Nice.
And I had to go and do the Spirits of Justice one because it's got Larry Butts in it. So I had to go back and visit Larry Butts and see what he's up to.
So you're basically going to be playing Phoenix Wright's games probably until the end of summer at this point.
Probably, because I've never played the Miles Edgeworth Investigates, and that's on Android now. So I'm considering getting that for my phone. So I could be in this for the long haul, and I'm okay with that.
At this point, you might as well be.
There's that worst series you can dedicate lots and lots of time to. So yeah.
Occams, you have been playing some Rage 2. I played this at PAX, and I thought the shooting felt really, really good. What have you been thinking of it?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the shooting. When it happens, I really like it. Um, it's a weird game. It's kind of a Frankenstein of Doom, which is the best part of it.
Mhm.
And then they went a little Borderlands, and they went a little Far Cry, and it's not really good as any of those combined. But it's fun. When you get into like these things called bandit dens, which are like bandit camps essentially, and you go in there and you start just you throw your wing. I say wing tip, but whatever your crow blade. It's the crow thing. You throw your crow thing, and you shoot somebody, and then you have a power, and you like Buddha palm them and all, and you kind of chain these attacks together, and it's really fun. And that's a good 15 minutes where you're like, this is fun, and then it stops, and you have to go find like the supply chests and the arc chests and all this stuff.
Ugh.
So you spend like I'll spend 15 minutes like clearing out a bandit camp. Good time. I'll spend half an hour trying to find these fucking chests. And there's actually like you through the story missions you unlock these projects, they're called, and they're essentially just abilities that allows you to like ping them on your radar, but I haven't done that yet. So I guess I probably should, but it's just a lot of like searching the area looking for a chest, and it's a pink top to a chest, and a lot of other things are pink, and there's a lot of downtime in a game that I thought would be a lot more like actiony. There's a lot of downtime, and to get these abilities, these your superhero kind of powers, you have to find these arc vaults, arcs. They're just an arc everything, just arc and blah, and you kind of have to actively search them out. And so you can spend a lot of the game with just your machine gun and a shotgun and a pistol and your grenades, just killing shit and not really find those all that quickly. It's okay. It's fine. It's those 15 minutes are fun. It's passable. It clearly wants to be Borderlands in the sense of that kind of the sense of humor and the quirkiness, and it just is not. It is like I'm just skipping a lot of the dialogue because it's so boring and just like, okay, yeah,
it's funny.
No, it's
a lot of that dialogue is kind of like serious.
It tries to be like, so beginning of the game, first 15 minutes, it's not a big spoiler, but like this character, this lady dies, and it's like the woman who raised you essentially. And so you go to the actual daughter of the woman who raised you who's just been killed, and it's like, the General Cross killed so and so. He's like, yeah, I know. All right, let's go get this. It's like that's it. There's no like emotional weight to anything, and everyone is like, yeah, it's just sure this thing sucks, but let's go kick the tires and light the fires. It's just it's fine. If you had to buy it, if you had to buy it, I would very much wait for a sale, but it's a pleasant time waster at least. There is one bit where you have to race, and that's bullshit. I fuck racing in these games.
I don't know. With you. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why anyone on Earth thinks a post-apocalyptic world has to have racing. It's garbage. Make a post-apocalyptic racing game. Don't make like a shooty post-apocalyptic world game that includes racing that you also are required to do. Because that's the part I almost just stopped playing the game because I get so fucking tired of trying to win this race.
Now I want a post-apocalyptic Mario Kart.
Yeah, see, that would work really well.
Yeah.
The end.
But I've also been playing Rage 2, and I agree with a lot of what Occams said, but there's also a talking vehicle, which is kind of like your main go-to vehicle.
Like Kit?
And basically, but it's feminine.
Oh.
And it's equipped with like these giant-ass machine guns. And there's a lot of the time where I ride into a bandit den, and I just kind of park it, and then shoot everything with the machine guns on the vehicle and kill everybody and go, so why did I need to get out and shoot them? Real question.
I guess if you want to have fun
stuff. Yeah. If you want to have fun, there you go.
I think I remember that. Just briefly reminds me of when I beat the final boss in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and you're supposed to take on this guy in this room and like shoot him down. It's like in your mansion, and he's surrounded by people. And by complete accident, I instead left the house, jumped off the roof, and landed in the swimming pool. Then I just got in my car in the garage and just drove through the front door and ran him over. And that worked.
Hell yeah.
But what was funny is he was stood right at the door, and it was where like the loading kind of block is from the inside and the outside of the house. So I drove my car through the front door and it faded down to load. And then when it loaded back up, it was just the end game cinematic. I was like, oh, I guess he was stood behind the door then. But sorry, I'm interrupted. But yeah,
that's a good interruption, though.
And there's a part of me that thinks Rage 2 is kind of unfinished. And I'll tell you why. It's a little thing, but it's sort of telling to me, especially for such a big game. Is that so when you can unlock these abilities and these projects, and it's like a flow chart almost. You hit one, it goes to different ones. Mm-hmm. But so on the first tier, I think there's 4 tiers total, you have like 2 abilities, and they're spread out. So like, let's say it's 6 squares, and the first ability is the first square, and the second ability is on like the 4th square. Instead of just going from the first ability to the second, when you scroll over with your analog stick, you have to go through the blank spaces, which it seems weird to me. Like they just left that in, like they didn't bother to take it out. So instead of just having you go from, tier 1, there's 2 abilities. You have to go like tier 1, first ability, blank space, blank space, blank space, and then the next ability. And just little things like that made me kind of feel it's very unpolished.
The thing is, too, the progression system is built entirely around exploring the open world. You just can't like immediately go and do all the main story missions and call it a day. You have to explore. It's not even like a matter of if, you have to. It's an absolute requirement. Because in order to like progress the story, you need to build up, I guess, your allegiances with the various groups of this wasteland. And that involves going and completing bandit dens, completing side quests, and all that stuff. So even if you aren't really a completionist, this game demands you be a completionist. And
that definitely sounds like a wait for sale then.
Like Occams said, when you go to bandit dens and stuff, in order to like air quotes complete the area, you have to open up like these chests and stuff. And I've had the exact same experience where like I've spent maybe about 5 minutes killing people and then over 20 minutes looking for a chest in this giant bandit den somewhere so I can, air quotes complete it.
And it's such a drag, and it kills the pacing. Absolutely. And it just kills it. The world itself feels very sparse. I think if they made it about half the size it is now, and just made it a little more organic, a little more like, there are times when you'll see these different factions fighting each other when you're driving around. That's kind of cool, but it almost, I don't know, it just doesn't feel very lived in. It doesn't feel very well thought out.
I think that's the rub of doing a post-apocalyptic game with, Mad Max as your inspiration. It's always just these big, giant, open areas.
To be fair, there are some like neat looking areas with actual like plants and stuff and foliage, but you won't get to that part because for whatever reason they start the game off in the drab ass desert area for whatever reason.
But a lot of people, from what I've gathered, like the game. So there's a lot of negativity here, but there's got to be some stuff going on. Definitely, it's pretty good.
The shooting, when you are in combat, it's brilliant. Like it very much is fast paced. I'm not crazy about like some of the effects they put on screen, like when you activate the rage mode or whatever the hell it's called, where you tap it with triggers to make the screen go all pink and chaotic. I played this for like 3-4 hours straight, and I had a headache by the time I was done.
It's the combat is very fun. They took a lot of the elements that made Doom so goddamn enjoyable, and it's in the game. It really is, and it's just it's hard to continue that momentum. It falls pretty quickly. And there's also, I find it's difficult. You don't really know when you've been hit. I've had times where I've almost died because I was fighting and there was like some guy behind me and I didn't realize it because there wasn't really a lot of a register of damage. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Like wait for a sale and I think you would enjoy it, but it's not all those other games I've listed that it clearly is modeled off of.
The thing that confuses me the most is the progression system and how you get those abilities. You have to go to all these arts and open them up to unlock various abilities. So you can't just like immediately unlock them from the get-go. So you start off the game with just an assault rifle and a pistol and not really much else. So those opening hours are pretty tedious. And I feel like this is definitely the type of game where by the end of it, when you are overpowered to all hell and back and have, dozens of different types of abilities that you can chain together, that's when it's at its best. And that's where a lot of the marketing shines. But like, I'd argue for about half that game, it's nowhere near what you see in the marketing. It's a lot of driving around. It's a lot of getting behind cover, getting an assault rifle out, and shooting things.
I appreciate what you're both saying, but I just can't believe that Andrew WK lied to me.
Oh.
Man, the music in this game, like, it is so forgettable. During the race bit, which I restarted a good dozen times, because you have to get first place. I found that out the hard way.
If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, it was like just this generic chugging, like, butt metal, like, and like this, like, the kind of like in like this punk.
The alternative should have been, The Offspring, All I Want, like the Crazy Taxi soundtrack. If Rage 2 had like the Crazy Taxi 2 soundtrack for the entire game, I'd be on board.
That is a good soundtrack. Dan, did you like the racing portions of Rage 2?
You could tell they took direct inspiration from their previous game, Mad Max, but it's weird because I feel like the driving isn't as good. And that's kind of like the case for a lot of the systems in this game. Like, a lot of it borrows from Doom, a lot of it borrows from Far Cry, a lot of it borrows from Borderlands, but I feel like it doesn't quite do those systems as good as those games. So,
would you say you got your fill of racing playing Sonic Team Racing over the last week?
Oh boy, did I ever! Chris Carter used the word it plays it safe. Yeah, that's basically what this is. It's a kart racer with the Sonic the Hedgehog cast and nothing else. And it just kind of feels like a weird step down from, All Stars Racing Transformed, which had, a massive cast of various side characters and courses.
I know it's really cool to say this, but like, that game is so fucking good. Like, All Star
really
Racing
good.
Transformed is fucking great. Like and you can buy it now for like £2 or whatever on Steam. It's like hardly costs anything. The tracks are great. The characters are great. It's really fast. Like, that's a great game. And and like you say, it's so odd that this new game is almost like, let's take away some of the features. Yeah, and let's pare back on the features. Let's take away the franchises. So let's kind of slow the game down a little bit.
They did add like some new mechanics. Like, it's called Team Sonic Racing for a reason. You race in teams, so the team factor plays in a lot of what you're doing. Like, if you come in first place, for example, and your teammates come in pretty much last, you still have a good chance of losing, because if the other team overall places better, then they'll be overall like placed higher in the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
So you're constantly having to at least give your teammates various items you pick up, which is a neat little feature. You don't have to just if you don't like the item you have, you don't have to just randomly use it to get rid of it. You can just give it away to somebody else. And you got to keep like a steady drive-in line so they get your line and you can kind of slingshot your teammates and stuff. So there's little things like that, but other than that, it's a pretty, I don't want to say bog standard. It's a perfectly good kart racer. I wouldn't say it's as good as something like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or even the previous game, but it's better than like most of the junk-ass kart racers you'll find on the market, like that Nickelodeon one and
All-Star Fruit Racing that I reviewed.
Fruit Racing. I remember that.
Oh, that was
Garfield
garbage.
Kart was a depressing case.
Garfield Kart.
I'll tell you what Team Sonic Racing has got that All Stars Transformed hasn't. Rogue the Bat. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that another anthropomorphic fuckable character?
Yeah.
Very much so. It's a bat with boobs.
The Sonic
And high
universe.
heels.
The Sonic universe just needs a hot cow, and I'm sorted.
The intro to that game is like grim as fuck, because you see Silver the Hedgehog and the other two characters who I don't know kind of like gang up on Eggman and kind of bully him, and then he crashes and explodes. All while like some Crush 40 ass music is playing, and I'm like, that's something.
Who's Eggman?
Oh,
I'm
Dr.
unaware
Robotnik.
of this character.
Oh,
You know what? They've been
God.
calling him Eggman since Adventure, and it's just kind of like ingrained into my mind now. So
You have to remember he's a decade younger than you, Chris.
yeah.
What's he called in the new movie?
The backbone of the film? I think that's his name. He is the backbone of the film.
Okay. Because he's not really egg-shaped in the film, is he?
No, the guy knows Robotnik. I mean,
Okay.
You are listening to Podtoid.
That is it for games, but we do have some headlines to cover. It is time for the news. There was actually a lot of good news this week. We got a brand new Nintendo Direct that was all about Super Mario Maker 2. Very excited about that. id Software says that it's ready to work on Rage 3, even though Rage 2 just released. Hopefully they'll get rid of those races. The Nintendo Switch has surpassed the PlayStation 4's lifetime sales in Japan, And Sega revealed that Mega Man The Wily Wars will be part of the Sega Genesis, or Sega Master System for you, Chris, Mini, which is...
CJ?
Yes?
Go fuck yourself.
Damn.
That's actually made me want to buy the system more than before because I really like Mega Man games. But for this week, we're going to start with the Epic Games Store. Since this thing launched a few months ago,
Oh boy,
we've barely gone a day where it actually hasn't been in the news. Epic's been like devouring exclusive titles by the day, it seems. It's I don't know. It's not yet as feature rich as Steam, as PC gamers will yell at you directly in the face to let you know. There are a ton of features planned for the future that haven't been implemented yet. But this week, the company decided to do its first Epic Games sale, and things did not go as they anticipated, I think. So the big deal of the sale was that you would get $10 off any purchase of $14.99 or more. Unfortunately, it seems that Epic wasn't exactly clear with developers about how the sale was work. Specifically, it didn't allow any of them, it seems, to opt out of the sale.
Yikes.
Because of that, the developers of Borderlands 3, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, and Oxygen Not Included were pulled from the store. The developer of the game Hades actually raised the price of its game, so its final purchase price would be $14.99 with the discount. There are a lot of features that are coming to the Epic Games Store that I kind of don't care about. Like, I really don't care about user reviews. But you would think for a company trying to compete with Valve would be able to adequately do the one thing the Steam store is best known for, right?
definitely.
I mean, seems logical.
There's no shopping cart yet, which has made it so that you have to buy these games one at a time. And funny enough, I guess for some users, if you've bought one too many games too quickly, your account might have been marked as fraud or whatever. And you can't do anything for like a 24-hour period, which is just something.
Well, I think I kind of applaud Epic for doing that, because what it is they're trying to help us be more thoughtful shoppers and really show us how consumerism is destroying us as a people. You know?
Yeah.
So good on them.
Well, the thing is, I talked about this on Impulse. I talked about the fear of like exclusivity being tied to platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Because once it does become the game of like, all right, this is the only place where you can get insert game. If you don't like it, fuck off. So if we don't like our features on the store, we don't give a shit. This is the only place you can play insert game. And that's quickly becoming a reality for a lot of folks who want to play like certain Epic Games exclusives. They have to deal with that launcher and those issues.
It certainly seems to be testing everyone's patience. Like, how much are you willing to put up with to, play Borderlands 3?
So I didn't read too deeply into this, but essentially what you're saying is 2K Games or Gearbox or whatever just woke up one morning to find that Borderlands 3 was like $15 off or whatever.
Yeah. Essentially the deal was if you bought a certain amount of games, I think you get like a $10 discount on any game you want, including the games that weren't even out yet. And people were, buying stuff like Borderlands 3, they were pre-ordering it with that discount. So a lot of publishers woke up to that problem and were like, wait, what? Of course they're honoring that stuff, but since then, they removed, from the Epic Games Store.
So it wasn't just that they put the price back to normal, the game was actually taken off the store entirely.
Yes.
Yep. They took it right off entirely.
Or in the case of Hades, they raised the price, which pissed off a lot of people.
Balanced out. Okay.
Yeah. Our second story is all about Minecraft. The game is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year, and Microsoft made some pretty big announcements to mark the occasion. For starters, the company revealed Minecraft Earth, which will be some sort of mobile augmented reality game akin to Pokemon Go. They released a trailer for it that I guess gives the general idea of what it will be like, mostly using Minecraft blocks to build in the real world. And I'm kind of curious to see if there will be more than that, or how it will work with, millions of people around the world playing the game. Microsoft also announced that Minecraft has sold 176 million copies across all platforms, potentially making it the best-selling game of all time. There's some confusion about whether it or Tetris is the best selling. The number that is most frequently quoted for Tetris is 170 million, but that number is about 9 years old and doesn't include games like Tetris Access Ultimate or last year's Tetris Effect. I will say now that Tetris is mostly a free-to-play franchise, so it probably won't have actual sales that reach into the millions anymore. Now, that 176 million that I mentioned for Minecraft, that's actually 100 million copies that have been sold since Microsoft bought the property in 2014. And even when that sale was made, people were telling me it was a dumb decision because, quote, Minecraft was dead. But it's kind of looking like this has been the best decision Microsoft has made since it started getting into gaming, because nothing else has sold nearly as well as this has.
And it's all thanks to Microsoft for creating that game.
Yep, no one else did.
No one else made that video game.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, their names would probably be in the credits, right?
The nice thing about the Minecraft world is that Trump's finally going to get his wall. You know,
we're ripping out the hangers. First, we made some Austria jokes. We're bringing up the wall. We're going after that whole audience on 4chan.
Wait, no, I'll add one, and I can build a bridge to Europe, so when Brexit happens, I can still have free passage.
Finally, speaking of Microsoft, there is a little bit of shocking news this week when it was announced that the company would be teaming up with Sony. Now, they aren't combining forces to make a new console or anything, something I'm sure a lot of people would love, but rather the two will share research and development in regards to gaming and AI development, specifically Microsoft Azure. Azure is Microsoft's cloud computing platform, and it honestly feels like this is Sony and Microsoft teaming up to take down what could potentially be a hit in Google Stadia, which is something we haven't seen or heard of since it was announced. Obviously, technology is only ever going to improve, and we're pretty much on a freight train towards like a cloud computing future. What this will say about game ownership in the future remains to be seen, though this week's Adobe disaster seems to be a sneak preview of what we're in store for. Cloud computing is probably going to be a big factor in the PlayStation 5 and whatever the next Xbox is.
I think cloud gaming's future depends solely on one thing, and it has nothing to do with tech. It has everything to do with internet service providers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In the current day and age of internet service providers across the world, it's not happening. Until caps are like increased or not a thing, I just don't see cloud gaming being the priority.
I know the big quote about this was that they were going to work on quote intelligent image sensor solutions, and I'm kind of too dumb to know what that means.
I don't know what it means either.
What is an intelligent image sensor? Is it like when apps can read your face? Is it that kind of thing? I don't know.
That's what I imagine. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like progress. That sounds like something I don't want to be better.
It sounds like if a robot is determining if you're sexy or not.
It's cool to see these companies like working together, and it's nice to see a photo of two people having a handshake. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's all about finding a new way to sell us stuff, isn't it? So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm hoping that this partnership brings out stuff that makes gaming or gaming technology better for everyone, and it's not just we've come up with like a new way to just piecemeal something or sell you more stuff or make it so your consoles recognize your face. I don't know.
To be fair, this isn't like a big enough leap that it's notable. Like they're not teaming up to make a new console or anything like that. Some could argue this is the equivalent of Xbox One using Blu-rays. Be like, oh look, they're using Blu-rays. Yeah, great. All right, awesome. To me, it just seems like they're making the smart move to come up with a cloud solution that's better than the competition, which is going to be Doodle, I guess.
If the cloud gaming does take off, it's going to have ramifications for how we own and possess games.
Definitely.
It'll be great to, like, let's say I play The Last of Us 2 on my phone when I'm at work because I can do that thanks to the cloud. But if I'm paying $15 every month to only rent games, I mean, it's going to seriously change how myself and probably millions of other people consume
I just don't think
and
it will.
value gaming.
I looked at internet speeds in Australia and parts of Europe and South America.
Mm-hmm.
They are not ready for cloud gaming at all.
No.
And then over here, and even in Canada, the US, we got shit awful internet service providers that will absolutely be a wall for cloud gaming.
Taking a sample size of 1, I have constant problems with anything I do on the internet because I only have 1 megaflop, whatever it is, up speed. So my internet is the worst of the absolute worst. And Germany in general is really bad. But apparently with this other podcast that I do, they had a guest on who was also from Germany, and he backed me up that in Berlin where he lives, there's just no good internet service providers. It's all just crap, basically. So Germany's got the worst, is known for having the worst internet speeds in Western Europe. So it won't be a thing here. One thing I just wanted to add is this whole move towards things being on the cloud, in the cloud, whatever. So in my day job, we try not to do things in the cloud because of data security concerns, and we try to do things on an on-site server as much as possible. And my concern is, without not knowing too much about this, but like stores, for example, will your credit card details be somewhere in the cloud, or will it be in a data center?
Right.
That's, I mean, to be honest, your trophy status or like your progress in The Last of Us is not exactly confidential information, but if people can more easily get access to your PayPal login or your credit card details, that's more of a concern maybe.
I think it's the technology is growing faster than the infrastructure, which is always the case. But
Yeah.
I mean, you look back into, remember when Tom Hanks was big in the titular film Big? And he came up with the idea for electronic comic books.
Yes.
And I saw
Go
Big
on.
in the theater when it came out. I did. And I thought that and the skyscraper robot were the coolest fucking things I'd ever seen. And cut to several years later, and we have electronic comic books. And I bet I could find a skyscraper robot. So, folks, we don't have to worry too much. We'll get there.
We'll get to the place where it's like Big.
We'll get there. We'll all have our Zoltar moment.
Wasn't the comic book in that movie like a baseball comic book?
Like you do. Baseball comic. Well, I mean, if anime can have like an ice skating anime, then let's have a baseball comic.
Hell yeah.
Occams, I really hope that you've got one of those like pianos that you walk on.
I did. I've been on one of those before, and having zero athletic ability to bounce around, I just like did a shoulder forward like barrel roll thing onto it just to make sound. Also, where's that porno? Where's lay out 4 of those and just let some people just go at it.
Making sweet music.
Yeah.
You can just use the ball slap as your tempo.
Oh,
That's your metronome, and then just start playing.
You are listening to Podtoid.
So that is it for news, which means it is time for the Podtoid question of the week.
STDs, Tina, have you heard of them? Have you heard of herpes? Have you? Do you know what herpes feels like on your mouth?
Sorry, that is not the Podtoid question of the week. This week's question came to me 1 or 2 weeks ago. Recently, the Strong Museum of Play inducted its newest entries into the Video Game Hall of Fame. Mortal Kombat got in, Mario Kart got in, Windows Solitaire got in. All of those are great games, but it's actually the 4th title that prompted this question. Colossal Cave Adventure is inarguably one of the most influential video games ever created. Every story-based game owes its legacy to this 1976 title. However, I'm sure that many, many people younger than me, this was the first time they ever heard the name Colossal Cave Adventure. It's not something that people really talk about anymore, like Zork or any of the other text-based games. And I can't imagine there are more than a handful of people under the age of 18 who have played it. But when it launched, it was huge. It spread across that precursor to the internet, and it was a very big game. And it was the first game that people started modding and adding stuff to. So that got me thinking about the longevity of popular titles that are hits today, and if people will remember them in the future. So this week's question is a hypothetical. Let's say we're putting together a time capsule to be unearthed 100 years in the future. What 2 games would you put into it to ensure future generations will actually play it?
Bubsy and probably
God damn
E.T.
it.
with just a note on it that says, "This is how bad things were once."
TJ.
Yes.
TJ, did you also have Bubsy for your answer like me and Dan as well?
No, I was going to do both versions of Altered Beast, but I assume Dan would take that.
I ruined a bit on multiple levels, it seems. I stole Chris's answer. I didn't even do my my shtick of Altered Beast. I was actually going to drop the Altered Beast stuff because I played it again recently, and that game. You know what? Yeah, I take it all back. It kind of fucking sucks, honestly.
It's been a long and winding road.
I popped open the Genesis Collection on the PS3. I started it up, went in with the mindset, this is a great game. Beat it, came out like, oh, this is really not that great.
It's a great game if you're in the arcade with your friends and you're drunk or high.
I think it was probably the drunk and high part when I played it with a friend at home.
Or your other... Being drunk and high in your 20s and 30s.
To be fair, playing that game by yourself, no bueno.
Yeah, that's garbage.
I would probably put in Theme Hospital just because it's a load of fun and it's a sort of, I don't know how you describe those types of games. I'm having a complete brain fart today. Like
management sims.
Management sim, exactly. It's one of those management sims that I think can sort of be forgotten. But it's a serious one and it's a lot of fun to play. And I'd also put in probably Final Fantasy 15 because I feel like in years to come that is going to get forgotten. Like I already feel like it's on sale a lot and it's probably not going to be the one that people remember. But also to remind people that people creating games back a few years ago were really, really thirsty, like full of thirsty bitches on that team. So
hell yeah.
They are some hot dudes on that in that game.
I wish that every time they had like a serious scene that like the big tall one, the scruff one, I forget his name now, would like just stroke the cheek of the character who is upset. Nothing else. No, don't make him like, kiss or anything. Just a cheek stroke.
The first thing I noticed when playing Final Fantasy 15 was they all sleep in the same tent.
Oh yeah.
Just a lot of farts. A lot of farts.
It's those characters. It's Rogue the Bat. It's the cows. It's Gadget from Rescue Rangers, and the half man, half wolf dude from Altered Beast. It's all of that, all in the same game. Like that's what we need. That's like the hottest game ever made.
I love a sticky note on there saying like this is the best example of food art in a video game. Spam. The food art is something.
The second power up in Altered Beast looks like Tom of Finland.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You go from like the Wolfman and the bear thing and the flying thing. It's not that great. Regret it. I regret sitting up for that game.
I'm sending you a high five through the internet for knowing what Tom of Finland is, by the way.
I'd put in to be kind of boring about it, I'd probably put in where we've come from to where we are. So I'd put in like Computer Space and God of War or something like that and be like, this is what we got to from this in like 30 years or whatever, to give them kind of like, to give the aliens or the Illuminati or the Inquisition or whoever found the time capsule like an idea of like how much gaming progressed through those years. And this is where I probably would have given an alternative answer of the original Bubsy or Bubsy Paws on Fire if Dan hadn't already taken the punchline.
I have my first answer is boring. I would do Breath of the Wild. We're still discovering magical fun things you could do with that game, and I'd love to see what gamers 100 years from now would be able to do with how true to life those physics are, or not true to life, but how consistent those physics are throughout the entire game. So that would be one. And then the other one, just to fuck with them, I would put in that Conception RPG where you are the guy who goes and impregnates all that girls and creates babies that you fight with you, just to confuse them as to what it was like to raise and give birth back in the stupid ages, as Futurama refers to us. Just to confuse the fuck out of them.
I think I would do. I think it was the sequel to Katamari Damacy. We Love Katamari.
Yes, that's one of the sequels.
Whatever the direct sequel was. 2 reasons. 1, I like the levels better, and 2, that soundtrack is one of the best fucking game soundtracks ever. Just if you throw on that space level song, oh god, it's amazing. And I feel like 100 years from now, maybe in the way like the 8-bit and 16-bit pixel voxel stuff is like all the rage now, they could look at this stuff and get inspiration and discover everything old is new again. And my second game, I'm kind of in the same boat. I want to fuck with them a little bit. It's Dante's Inferno.
It's a good choice. That's a good choice either way.
And I really want them to understand, like, no, you can have penis in games. It's okay. Go ahead.
I did consider going with something like Killer is Dead just to visually fuck with people, because some of the Suda51 games are just really, like, maybe even Killer 7 is just a really strange game to play.
Like if you could teleport Ben Franklin, old Benny Franks, to like now, with just in a white room with no context, no nothing, and show him an entire playthrough of Killer 7, again, no context, no explanation, I would bet you $1,000 he'd shoot himself in the head right after.
No, that was a guy who was flying to France to have orgies in churches. He would absolutely love that game. Did I say flying? Did I say that he was flying to France?
Sure.
He was
something we don't know.
CJ, he was a genius. Okay,
he was using one of those Michelangelo flying machines.
The ornithopter. With the same shape of like the carnival potato thing now. Yeah.
This episode has become a mess.
I would go with, if I had to change mine.
Hey, lips moving, still talking. This episode has become a mess, and I am going to start a petition to get it reshot
off.
God damn it.
And get the ending changed.
Anyways, we're just about out of time, but before we go, we have a community shout-out, Occams?
Yeah, community shout-out to our own Chris Moyse. Chris is one of the most consistent people for bringing up folks' birthdays. And I love that because birthdays can sometimes be tough for people. Maybe, it's not a good year, or they don't have a lot of time to celebrate it and stuff. But you always shout out the birthdays, and it gives us a chance to celebrate with our fellow Detoiders. So community shout out to you, Chris. Thank you.
No, thanks. I do my best, but I forget sometimes because I'm just so Chris, kind of wobbly-minded.
Chris,
take the compliment.
Okay. I have to point out that, like, I'm kind of shakily minded to the point that there was an episode of the podcast a couple of weeks ago where I absentmindedly brushed my teeth before we recorded, like as if I thought I needed to make sure like my breath was fresh. But at least I remember to wish people a happy birthday. So as long as I've got that, I've got something.
Amen to that.
On that note, that is it for our show. On behalf of Dan, Chris, Occam, Charlotte, and myself, thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify.